All right, very excited now to have with us Patriots defensive back, still a Patriots defensive back for the next few days at least until the new league year starts here, Jonathan Jones. Jonathan, thanks so much for being with us, man.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Just got into town from Georgia. You've been a busy man this offseason, but we did want to ask you, as we are looking ahead to this important time and this important offseason for you, how are you feeling going into this free agent process? It's the first time for you. You hadn't had a chance, the opportunity to hit free agency as you finished up your previous contract with the Patriots, but you have that shot now. What's going on in that brain of yours?
It's a little different, it's a little bit different process, but I'm enjoying it, taking everything in stride and just taking it day by day. That's kind of where I am right now. No really expectations for myself, going into free agency, just looking to play football, keep playing football.
Are you hoping to be able to stay in New England? You had such a big role with this team last year, but you've obviously had a huge role with this team for years now. I think you really become sort of a core piece of that defense, championship-winning defenses here in New England. Would you like to be able to continue your career here in New England?
I mean, that's always the goal. I think for a guy to be in a place for his entire career, that's abnormal. So that's kind of, always a goal for players. And I enjoy it. I've been here, most of my adult life. I know it's consistency here for me. And I love New England. The fans, the people, how crazy they are about the sports here. It's definitely, a second home for me.
And do you like that? I mean, I call you core leader, core piece. Do you relish the opportunity to be thought of that way? Do you think of yourself that way? Have you thought of yourself that way during your time here?
I think I've kind of grown into that role. A lot of the older guys, Devin and Slate have, always pushed me into that way of being more vocal. I was kind of more of a guy who, led by example, try to do things the right way. But those guys have kind of, pushed me into being more of a vocal leader for the team and different things like that.
As you approach this time, do you find yourself watching us more? Do you find yourself reading media stuff a little bit more often? Because, again, we're sort of getting right there, right? We're close to they call it the legal tampering period, but we're just coming off the combine. There's a lot of buzz coming out from Indianapolis because the entire league is there. Do you find yourself paying attention to that stuff and trying to keep up with that stuff to see what might be next for you?
I try not to. I try to block out the noise, just focus on my off-season grind and just continue to work out and do those things. But it's hard not to. With social media these days, everything just comes across your page. So it's kind of hard to block it out. But, I just try to stay focused.
There's a lot of news going on in the NFL as it relates to not only free agency, but trades, franchise tags. And the one story that has kind of dominated, it feels like, here, even locally, even though it's become a national story, is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Have you followed that story, and does it surprise you that it's gotten to where it's gotten with Lamar right now and him and the Baltimore Ravens? I
mean, it's a little surprising, but, this is a business. There's always, negotiations and stalls and contracts. But, yeah, it has been a little different. Really haven't seen this before, from my knowledge of, MVP quarterback, not being able to, get deals worked out, but, that's a part of the business.
When you are an NFL team and you're looking for that quarterback position, though, don't you feel like that, like somebody like that, he's 26 years old, just coming off an MVP season, that there would be something there waiting for him? Does it feel odd to you that the league has maybe kind of handled Lamar the way that they're handling him right now? For him not to have a little bit more interest is surprising to, I think, a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think it's surprising. I think it's an oddball. There's no one to really compare him to. He's a unique quarterback. He does everything and some. So I think, he's very unique in everything that he does. So I think that makes it a little bit different. I think he has his mindset on the things that he wants, and, you can't tell somebody not, to value themselves in a certain way.
No question. No question. I mean, you're in those shoes right now. And I'm sure there are things that you're looking for, that you want in your next team, wherever that happens to be, too. What do you put near the top of your priority list when you're thinking of those things?
Just consistency. Being at this point in my career, I've been a part of a great organization, and just understanding that top-down consistency matters. It helps you as a player focus and prepare, from off-season to off-season. There are going to be changes, but, an organization that can minimize those changes always helps from a player's perspective.
When we think of the top of the football operation in New England, we think about Bill Belichick. How much have you liked working for him?
And it's been a blessing. He's one of the best. No, let me scratch that. He is the best, best coach, in football. And he's a great guy to work with. To come in under, to learn from a young guy, to grow up under. You learn so much about football, the history of the game, and just also life. He always brings in the element, of life perspective.
He's often said he's not an easy guy to work for.
Yeah.
Mac Jones didn't have an easy year at work last year, it looked like.
Yeah.
What did you think of the year that he had? What do you think of him as a quarterback moving forward, Jonathan? How much confidence did you have in him to eventually become the guy that I think a lot of people here in New England are hoping he becomes?
Definitely. I mean, he has all the tools. He has all the mechanics to be, a quarterback in this league and a top quarterback in this league. I think it's just going to come down to, the right situations and getting that consistency and just continue to develop. I look at myself coming in undrafted. It's a process, and I think a lot of people want ready-made results, and that's just not always the case. But just, as long as he continues to strive to get better, it'll always work out.
What do you think he could be? Bill O'Brien, him coming aboard, that was sort of the first free agent signing, if you will, for the Patriots this offseason, was to bring him in and add him to the coaching staff. Do you think that could make a real impact in terms of Mac Jones' trajectory? And what do you think might be the sort of end result there between that marriage?
I definitely think it helped. I think, Bill O'Brien can bring in the insight, from the history of offense that he knows. And hopefully, Mac can learn a lot from that, and they can, get some things working together, to get the offense on a good page.
Talking about quarterbacks a little bit earlier with Lamar, quarterbacks around the league. Aaron Rodgers is another guy who around the league, if you're tracking these things, maybe to the Jets. Does that make you want to stay in the AFC East anymore, Jonathan?
Man, you definitely want to compete. He's one of the best, and to have, good quarterbacks. We have great quarterbacks in this league. To have one in your own, division, it always makes it fun.
That could be a pretty interesting division if you have Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. You have Josh Allen twice a year. Who knows what happens with Miami? Lamar Jackson's a South Florida guy.
Yeah.
I know they say they like Tua Tagovailoa, but that would be the challenge of all challenges in the AFC East, I would think, if you were here for that, Jonathan. Don't you think?
Yeah, it would be a good season. Good quarterback season, good division.
We have some other Patriots that we're sort of wondering what's next for them. Obviously, there's you. There's Jacoby Myers, there's Devin McCourty. Devin's somebody that you've been very close with over the years. What do you think might be next for him if you try to put yourself in his shoes? And if he's not back, if he decides to retire and this is it for him, what would the Patriots be missing?
Man, what would they be missing? It's hard to put a value on Devin McCourty, from a football player, from, the things he's done in the community, just who he is, a mentor for guys like myself, other guys who've come in. Guys he's left an impression on who may have not been on the team more than a week. He's that type of guy that can leave an impression on them. But whatever Devin decides, he's still athletic enough to still play if he wants to. And I think that's a blessing in itself to be able to have that option to walk away or to still play. So whatever he decides, he'll be fine.
Do you give him a call and say, hey, if you come back, maybe I'll come back, get the band back together?
Hey, I've talked to him.
Conversations like that?
I've talked to him. So, but no, the ball's in his court is what he wants to do with his future. He's paved the way for me, and I'm just trying to, fill those steps.
Well, Jacoby Myers is another player who I think you, in some ways, paved the way for as an undrafted rookie, and obviously the Patriots have had many over the years who have ended up contributing, but not many who have contributed as much as you have. Yeah. And I think Jacoby Myers has kind of worked himself into that conversation with what he's done the last few years here. How impressed have you been by his path and his journey? And is that somebody that the Patriots should prioritize bringing back?
He's enjoyed it. I've watched him come in, position change coming out of college, and just embracing playing receiver. And he just, works hard. He works hard every day. He's, quiet, relatively quiet, doesn't really say too much. He's the type of guy you want in your locker room. He doesn't go against the grain. He's just one of those guys you want in your locker room and you want on the field with you, more importantly.
Talk about working hard. You've been doing a lot of work this offseason. And I know the charitable part of your experience here in New England has been really valuable to you. Tell us about Play Like a Girl, because you became the first ever male ambassador for Play Like a Girl just recently here, Jonathan. What does it mean to you to be part of that group? And tell us about some of the work that you're able to do with them.
I had the opportunity to partner with them with my foundation last year, doing my Cause, My Cleats. Their organization is great. They just advocate for youth and women in STEM and in sports. And my daughter, she's 7, and she's starting to get into sports. She loves STEM, so it's just a big part of my life, where I'm headed. So just to be able to Gosh.
That's okay. This is good. It's not live TV,
yeah,
so reset.
Just being able to collab with them and get things together has been awesome. My daughter enjoys it. I just enjoy being a part of them and advocating for them. Play Like a Girl is a great organization. They do so much for the youth, and just for my foundation to be able to align with that, it's awesome.
And you're doing so much for the young women of this community, too. You're working with Big Sister Boston here this week. Tell us about what you're doing with them.
So we have an event for 100 girls and their mentors. They're going to come in. It's National Women's Month, International Women's Day today, and just celebrate them, give them an opportunity to come into Gillette, see some things in the Hall of Fame, and just really for me to learn and hear from their stories and share, some stories I have of some impactful women that's been in my life.
And you've been able to meet one of the influential women down in your area. Go back to Auburn. I know you're doing a lot of work down there as well, but it sounds like you had a blast back, again, hometown for you, alma mater for you at Auburn. Yeah. But you got to meet a pretty impressive athlete in her own right when you were down there last. Tell us about that meeting.
Suni, she is an Olympian, and she is great. I told my daughter when we first met her, I said, she is the best. And, after the meet was over, she won about 3 events, and my daughter looked at me and she goes, "Daddy, she's the best." So it was an honor, just to meet, those girls down there. They work so hard. They're role models for my daughter. They embraced her. It was good to be back on the plains.
Suni Lee, the gold medalist. I mean, just unbelievable meeting of athleticism there between the two of you. It sounds like you were just as big a fan of her as she might have been of you and your work with the New England Patriots.
Oh, definitely. I mean, to be an Olympian, that's one in a lifetime. It's just so rare. You know what I mean? It's something you grow up wanting to do. I ran track, so I understand the work that it goes into being an Olympian and wanting to be an Olympian. And to see her, excel at such a high level, and there's so many young girls that follow her. It's awesome to see.
Well, I think a lot of Patriots fans would like to see some of that Olympic caliber speed that you bring to the table, Jonathan, back here in New England. Can we call it that? Can we call it Olympic caliber speed?
I think so.
I think you're still there. I think you're still there. But however it works out for you in free agency, thanks so much for being here with us and being as available as you are to us here at NBC Boston, but for all the local media here. It's been great working with you. Hopefully it'll continue.
I appreciate that. Thank you.